hesitating to have testimony before everybody's here. Well, make it wait.
Oh, you don't want me to do it tonight?
Yeah, I want you to do it tonight. I'm just whether you want to do it now or.
Well, you can show it tomorrow, can't you?
Yeah, we can do that. It's on. By the way, Julie's is uploaded on YouTube. If you want to see it, and yours will be hopefully. Okay, so let's come on and share with us. Okay, because we know nothing about you. Okay.
All right. So basically, I grew up in church. My parents, my mom was the director. Have you ever heard of McDonald Christian? It's on Jonesboro Road.
No,
Yes, my mom was the director of the children's ministry there. And then things like took a south turn when I was around 9 years old. My parents split up.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom, they were fighting over custody. My mom got custody of me and my two sisters. But then things took a even more south turn when I was 12. My mom became an alcoholic. So that kind of just stung a lot. To this day, we don't have a relationship with her because she's crazy. You know, and whenever like Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that would come around, you know, it would really hit you because, you know, you saw every other family, you know, they're getting together and then, you know, mom's not there, you know, you don't know what she's doing. I pray every night that she just, you know, finds the light. I try to reach out to her all the time, but sometimes she doesn't respond, so it's just rough. But, you know, as a teenager, my dad married my stepmom when I was 13. And then they became members of First Baptist Locust Grove, moved in with them. But I did not become a believer. I did not become a born-again believer until I was 17 years old. You know, when I was in high school, I was playing baseball, playing basketball, you know, just trying to be cool. You know, when you're the center of the attention, you know, you got scouts coming to see you. You get big-headed. You get a big head. And I did a lot of things that I am not proud of. But I remember when I was 17, it was a couple weeks before my 18th birthday. I was at a party. I left. I told my dad I was spending the night with somebody, so I left. I didn't have anywhere to go. I wound up sleeping in the Warren Holder parking lot. And it was just, I remember because my stepbrother was a youth pastor at Avalon Church. And that night something just hit me, you know, because my stepbrother had always talked to me, you know, hey, come here, come to church, but I never wanted to do it. And I remember, you know, I just remember a quote he used to tell me, you know, you can't follow Christ and the crowd at the same time. And if all you remember for is being a good baseball player or basketball player, then you're doing a bad job because none of that's going to matter. It came a point in my time in my life, I was like, you know, what do you want your life to be about? You know, I accepted Christ when I was 17 years old. I became a born-again believer. I got baptized, and my life hasn't been the same since. I mean, I can't imagine where I'd be right now if it wasn't for Christ. You know, being 22 years old, you know, this world's a dark place.
Yeah.
So, and I decided not to play college ball. I passed up that opportunity. I enrolled at Liberty when I was 18, going in the fall. And that spring, I got an offer as an internship at a church in Fairfield, Connecticut, right outside of New York City. And I found myself ministering to a bunch of teenagers as a 19-year-old. I did that internship for a year, then I returned home. And I finished up I went to Kennesaw State for a semester, and then I went to Georgia State, and I got my associates in accounting. And, you know, I believe I'm called to full-time ministry, but it's just God's will when the time is. But even as a 22-year-old, it's just, I struggle with things all the time. You know, one of my buddies, he's my best friend, I love him to death. He has my back out of his back. He's not the best dude. He goes out, all that. But my job is to be an example to him. So, you know, I always just do my best to just show integrity around him, and just, I pray for him every night. I'm trying to get him to come to church, but he's a cop, so he works night shifts on Saturdays. So, but that's basically it. Sometimes I find myself, you know, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? I always question myself, why didn't I play college ball? But, you know, it's God's plan, and sometimes you don't always understand it. And the verse, my life verse is Proverbs 16:9. You know, a man can make his plans, but the Lord determines your steps. So, you know, it's just, like I said, I don't know where I'd be without him. As a 22-year-old, I'm just thankful I found him, and you know, I'm a product of grace because it's helping me to become a better man, become a better husband when I meet my wife, and a better father. So all those things I learned throughout my childhood, I don't want to put my kids through what I went through. So every night before I lay my head down on the pillow, I just, you know, thank the good Lord for where I'm at, and His grace and mercy. So.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. That's good testimony. Amen. It's you had a lot to overcome.
Yes.
And I'm thankful that the Lord found you, and you allowed Him to find you, and all of those. And you keep sticking close to Him, and He'll show you His will in there. And so I just have one question: which sport could you go to college on?
Baseball.
Baseball.
Where'd you graduate high school?
I graduated in Locust Grove.
What position you play on basketball?
Basketball? I was a shooting guard. I was the little white kid.
Guard. Okay. Okay. All right. That's point guard.
Oh, really?
I want to know.
Yeah, I couldn't dribble. I could just shoot. So I just shot and played defense. So.
All right. Well, that's good. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you allowing the Lord to lead you here. And I know it's quite different here than it has been other places, and it's different than Brother Buster and I used to. It was really ratchet down tight when we were coming along. After we got straightened out. Okay, and so I hope that we can be a help to you, you know, because I say you have had the background, you got all that. So that's one of our jobs since we got semi-straightened out, all right? And all of us have those battles, okay? But I thank you, Brother Nate. It's good testimony there. And I
We need
appreciate
to
it.
help you pray for your mother.
Yes, we do. We need to make that a class project. We pray for the mother. Okay. All right. Tonight, let's go ahead and get started then, and see how far we can get. We're going to be. I gave you some new notes, but we're going to be on page 9 to begin with. If you're, I believe the notes you had last week, A9, and while you are finding that, I want to read you out of Wilmington, but I thought we were a little bit weak maybe on a couple of areas. I don't have time to go back. I wish we had long times, but you'll forgive me for the way we're flying because it's only 1 month. Okay, and so you can go back and, you know, and fill in the areas you want to fill in later with some areas. I can give you some stuff to read on that. But this was a little bit there on the when Noah years after came off the ark, the things. Austin, hey, brother Austin, y'all were up that day.
We were busy.
Busy. Well, that's good.
Trying to make up.
Got a lot of stuff, a lot of green stuff. Good. Okay. We prayed, and Brother Nathan gave his testimony, and you can see it on YouTube when we get it uploaded. So, good testimony there. So we're just getting started. I'll give you some notes there. And was saying there, Noah's sons and the prophecies concerning them. I want to read you a little bit. We've already said that a little bit. I want to read it again on the 3 sons, and then we're going to do a little, get our mind in shape to go who we are tonight. But what was involved in Noah's threefold prophecy? Now, the one we really want to say, to Ham and Canaan, he said, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brother. Now, the negative side, it did not result in a special curse for black people. And you live in the South. I mean, you're in the South. You live in the South. Okay. And so you still have that coming up, you know, by older people, this kind of thing, a lot of times. Okay. Ham had 4 sons. Okay. Cush, the progenitor of the Ethiopians, Mizraim of the Egyptians, Put of the Libyans and people of Africa, and Canaan of the Canaanites. So we find that it actually came down to a curse through Ham on Canaan. All right? And remember, because when I say this again, remember that in the Bible, a lot of your genealogies, a lot of genealogies it's hard to pick out years and anything because sometimes a grandson is a son in Scripture, okay? So when you're reading in that, remember that when that was in the Bible we came through, it could, when it said a curse on you, it could have been talking immediately about Canaan and not Ham, okay? And so it was through Ham, his side now. So I wanted to clear that up a little bit there, and it says, thus as the curse was specifically leveled at Canaan, and not Put, P-H-U-T, who may have founded the African nations, there exists absolutely no racial implications whatsoever with the curse. In fact, the skin texture of Israelites in Canaan at the time of Joshua's invasion was probably very similar. The problem concerning the Canaanites was not in the color of their skin, but rather in the condition of their heart. Okay? And I thought that was well put. And then he goes on about the others there, about Shem that we're talking about, and Japheth there to enlarge. And Japheth now shall enlarge Japheth. Some 19 centuries later, this prophecy came to pass. During those centuries, the Hamites ruled in the Nile Valley, and the Semites reigned in Mesopotamia. But in October 538, the decisive hour struck as Cyrus the Persian, a descendant of Japheth, defended Belshazzar. You remember Daniel, okay, book of Daniel. And the proud Semite capital fell. Since then, no Semitic or Hamite race has succeeded in breaking the royal supremacy of the Semitic race. And it goes on about that. I'm doing it in Sunday school. Right now, they've enticed me to do Revelation, and I'm doing Daniel, a little bit of Daniel, all that. And we are right now, since that time, since the Israel was taken into Judah was taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar, and they burned the temple, and they were taken away in captivity. From then through now has been the time of the Gentiles. Okay, and Daniel had four Gentile world powers. Okay, which we think by what he said that last one, the Roman Empire, is going to have some kind of revived Roman Empire again with 10 power structures somewhere, whether it's nations or whether it's now UN. I've seen this years ago. I don't know how widespread, but the United Nations itself has 10 power structures. The world is divided into 10 power structures with the UN, and so whether it's the old nations, the Roman Empire, now we got excited years ago. I say we people that write about it when the European Common Market came along and the Euro came into being. Said, boy, that's it. That's got to be it, because now those nations, old Roman empires, get back together again. You know, one to rise like that, and we don't know that. I mean, prophecy is something you look at in the Old Testament, and all that, but then things happen, and you say, well, that don't fit or that will fit, you know, and so in prophecy though, you just always look at what's happening in Israel. That's pretty indicator of what's going to happen there. Okay, let's get to the 15 and we'll go from there. Give me some help now, because this is part of it, some help now. What do you think of when I say Genesis chapter 1?
Creating the beginning.
6 days of creation.
All right, and 2?
That would be
Adam and Eve.
woman created, the garden created.
All right, both of them, but in the creation of 1 and 2, there was a supreme creative act.
Right.
What was that? Bigger than all the rest of them, you might say.
Sin.
No, sin was in 3. God created something that was called the crowning work of his creation.
The creation of man.
Man,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
But
And remember,
was that mentioned in chapter 1?
1, yeah, and then explained in 2, yeah.
But there were 2
Said,
things.
in our image, that was chapter 1. In chapter 2, he said, it's actually a description of he breathed in his nostril, breath of life, he became a living soul. So those 2, 1 and 2, you kind of roll together sometimes. All right, okay, 3.
Temptation and fall.
All right. By the way, you owe me about 3 or 4 pages on something.
Right.
We've only got a couple of weeks left, okay? And if y'all want to read a little paper on that a student wrote on that, I have 2 with me. You know, if you want to see that. And a couple of your friends from my jungle way, okay? That, and remember, you're supposed to also know chapter content, like we're doing now, not the whole thing. Chapter content for the first 11 chapters, right? That's where we're going over it. And by the time we're through in a couple of weeks, you should be able, in a lot of Genesis, to know what Genesis is about by chapter, even without turning there. You know, it's very valuable when the Lord uses you to talk to somebody, you don't have time to go look everything up again. You kind of know where everything is, okay, and so 4, chapter 4.
That's Cain and Abel, the birth of Seth, and then the genealogy.
Okay,
Just in-
Cain and Abel, and with that, please remember, what was the problem?
Pride, and giving a wrong sacrifice.
Pride between the two, but what was it that they were supposed to do and one of them didn't do right?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Blood sacrifice.
Sacrifice always got to be by blood. Remember, God killed animals when He redeemed Adam and Eve in chapter 3. Okay, and that's what we know they knew, and would have told the boys, even though Scripture doesn't say that, and there'd be a blood sacrifice. And we know now, looking back now, we know because it had to be a blood sacrifice that Jesus would offer Himself. Okay. Okay. So 5, chapter 5.
Seth again. Isn't it?
And, okay.
The genealogy or ancestry.
Is that the important thing? I'm asking. I'm not telling. Okay. And what was important about Seth and Enos?
Oh, that Enoch was the first preacher.
No, not Enos. Seth's son.
Seth
Oh,
was one.
He was a replacement.
He was a replacement of Abel.
Okay. And at that time, then other people began to call the name of the Lord. Okay. You remember the Cain civilization was the first great civilization. Okay. But they were not a godly civilization. So they began now to have two strains, you might say, running. And remember, there wasn't a lot of people. There were a lot of people, but not compared to what you think of a great population. Okay. And so they were, and so as it runs, that's 4 and 5. All right, now chapter 6 for you to remember.
Antediluvian
Noah.
Right.
civilization.
Now, remember the first time in the Bible it talks about grace. Right, good. And so he found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and it was caused by, I mean not the grace, but the situation was caused by what? What did you say about man? God said, I'm fed over man.
Yeah.
What?
Man was wicked.
Wicked. And it's important, I think, there, and that's right, is every imagination, you know, and it's in our mind, and you're going to get over to another part, and here we're going to see what, once again, was that our imagination. Anything that God gave us such a mind, now ours has been polluted, I think. I really think they were smarter. See, the world says that they were ape type, and if we get smarter, but according to the Bible, they were smart. They were smarter to begin with. All that Adam's knowledge he had, and I'll read about that, okay? So where were we? 6, 7, 7, 8 and a half.
The waters rise and 7.
Okay, the flood, okay, 7, 8, okay. And remember the flood was, we believe the flood was universal instead of local. Some people believe it's local, you know. And so that was 7.5, yes.
The ark. Do we know exactly how big it was?
Yeah, it's in your notes. Should be.
Big enough?
In fact, it's more than big enough. There's been compilations that has shown that. Now, remember what they took, and you know, and this kind of thing. You know, that there's been shown there was plenty of room, plus the people, and food. You know, yeah, that's been shown. That's pretty well. And I won't go back, but I'll let you borrow it if you want to, and it's all, you got one of those, right? It's all in there that Wilmington's laid out, you know. And you remember, he wasn't there when you were taking course. You ever have a course from Wilmington? Liberty?
No.
Okay.
All we had, I took survey of New Testament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know who had done that, right? And so, but that is a question that's a question that people ask, thinking that ain't no way. It wouldn't ain't no way. But remember, you didn't have to have one of every, well, scientists call it mutations, I don't use that word, but you had to have the one of each species. Okay?
Yeah.
male and female.
Right, and then you had to have 7 clean so they sacrifice. Yeah, okay. But that, I'll let you do that. I think, but you've got in there somewhere on a little side of, out of Wilmington, on one of those, that gives you the dimensions on that. And so, but there's a lot of thing on that. And so we were where? We were number 9. The last part of chapter 9, what happened?
Well,
After the flood, what happened?
that's when Ham came in.
Well, before that though, we just got on, we just on the ark. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, the waters go down,
Yeah.
and they come off the ark and they have sacrifice.
Okay. And things change a little bit in the setup of man. Things change a little bit because this is a new dispensation. It's they don't want led there, and so the biggest thing is two areas. What did he say about the new relationship between man and animals?
They can now kill and eat
Like
animals.
steak,
Yeah.
got to eat medium rare forward, not rare. Okay. We talked about that. Okay.
Blood, you're not supposed to drink
Don't eat.
blood.
You don't eat or drink the blood. Okay. Well, and then the fear of animals, and then they were naturally worried. If you were in the flood in the ark, you was the only one saved for that. You might be worried about coming in, and so the Lord said, "I'm not going to do that anymore. Well, I'll never destroy the world by water again. And if you look at the sky, you're going to see my sign. That's a sign of rainbow. And so when you see a rainbow, you'll know that's spiritually. Remember, that's the sign. That's a sign. We know how it works. Okay, refraction of a light and the water droplets in the atmosphere. But all of that, you'll see that that's a sign that the Lord gave them. Okay, you'll destroy by fire next time. Okay, and so 10. Anybody remember 10? Chapter 10. Anybody remember 10?
Tower Bible.
Huh?
Tower Bible.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It was,
And that's the second. I mean,
no, that was 11. That was 11.
okay. One of them was genealogy.
That's right.
Yeah, that's 10. That's what I
Okay. And then you get to Babel. Now remember, just to come to your mind a little bit about Babel now, who was the main guy leading the world?
Nimrod.
Nimrod. Okay. Means great hunter. Now that can mean a great hunter. Or if you take it some other ways, it can mean a hunter. Some places put it, yeah, he was a hunter of souls. That means he was trying to dominate. Okay. That, and you take it away, I guess. Because he did both. Nimrod, and so they said, let us all stay together now. Let's don't separate here. Let's stay together, and build us a name. And we're going to build us a tower that's going to reach to heaven. And that tower is, and they've excavated all over that area that was built like that, and one was near what was that Abram was going to talk about, and it's called a ziggurat. A ziggurat, and you can just look it up and you look it up and see what it is. It started with a large base, and then its succeeding floor was smaller. Okay, going up like that, and it had a stairway, and it had the signs of the zodiac, and what it became a tower to astrology, worshiping things. Okay. Anyway, that sickened the Lord just like it did in chapter 6. Okay, with me? And so the Lord said, let us go down and straighten this stuff out. So instead of bringing a flood or something to kill everybody, or fire or this kind of thing, they confuse their languages, and so and naturally that caused them to segregate themselves into language areas. Okay, and to begin to grow in this kind of thing. And we mentioned a little bit about continental drift, right or wrong. There's pros and cons on that. Anyway, it seems as if at the beginning the land was all connected out of Genesis 1, 2, and then we know for sure it didn't remain that way. Okay, so we've got continents now, and so if it did, that's mean back in genealogy, Peleg, P-L-E-G, in genealogy, it means divided. And so we think sometime it was during his time that that Lord saw fit to let them drift if they wanted to drift, or whatever calls that, okay? And you can tell they were connected one time almost by animal kingdom and plants and all. You'll find them places where they would need to be together at one time to find them somewhere else because of environmental stuff and stuff, you know, this kind of thing. It's all science, you can study it, okay? And so we were into that's 11, and so we come to the history now of as God now moves from dealing with the world, okay? He now moves to a one stream in the world by which he's decided that, well, he already knew this, but I say he decided that he can use that to redeem the world unto him if they want to be saved, okay? So it's going to take, a lineage takes place, and it goes all the way back from Adam and comes all the way through, and it'll wind up with Messiah, okay? And you can trace that person by person. I have that somewhere in a book, in booklet form. Now, we were and then last week within chapter 12 begins that now. So, who did he call? Abram. And where was Abram living? And that was down there near the Persian Gulf, between two rivers. And what were they? Tigris and Euphrates. There were actually four, but two of them we think they were tributaries, perhaps. And so he calls him, and chapter 12, 1 through 3, is what kind of covenant? Abrahamic covenant. That's important. Abrahamic covenant. And in that, there were really 7 things about it. We've missed 3 or 4, but that's not. But in that covenant of Abraham, he said, God had called him out. And now he'll start to use him. He said, Abram, I'm gonna bless you. I'm gonna make a great nation out of you. And remember, Sarah had a problem. She's barren, right? So he said, I'm gonna make a nation out of you. As time goes on, there'll be people that will bless you, and I'll bless them, and there'll be people that curse you, and I'll curse them. And he also said, the land I'm sending you to, I'm going to give to your seed forever. That's 5 of them. There's 2 more somewhere, okay? But that's sufficient for now. And so that always included Abraham's covenant. Now, God gives the covenant. He will, in chapters to come, he will then, he won't give it one time, but then he will remind them, or the word I'm trying to use, he'll tell them again and again, okay? He'll ratify it, I think would be the right word to say, okay? And so, so that's 12, and in 12, 12. Abraham.
That when he went down to Abimelech?
Yeah, that was 12, in 12, right? Was that 12 when he went down to Egypt the first time?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he goes down in Genesis 12, 10 through 20. There comes a famine in the promised land, in Canaan land. And he goes to Egypt. And most Bible commentators believe that this was a test allowed by the Lord. And he should have trusted the Lord and stayed in the land. But he didn't. He went to Egypt. Now, what's Egypt in the Bible? What's Egypt a type of? Egypt, always Egypt out of the world, okay? And he went down there, and he had this little thing with his wife Sarah that said, now, Lou, we go down there. You tell them that you're my sister. In his mind, he said, that's just a half-lie, because she's a half-sister. You know, his wife. So he goes down there, and the Pharaoh, remember the Pharaoh likes her looks. Well, he's used to having a harem, I mean, you know. And so he takes her in, and this first one, the Lord didn't come to this first one, but he finds out who she is. And so he rebukes Abram and also gives him stuff. I mean, gives him cattle. And back that day in time, your mark of wealth was cattle and this kind of thing, possessions. mostly, but he gave him cattle. I believe where he may give him gold too at one of the occasions. And so even in Abram doing wrong, he came back, and I've got something I want to read to you here. The reason was a famine in Canaan. The sin was doubt concerning God and deceit concerning Sarah. Each time of the world. 7 tragic consequences. Now, these are good because they follow us today, and so please try to, you won't be testing them. If you want in the book, it's in the book, okay? Your book's page 44, if you want to look at them, okay? It says, number 1 is he grieved God. Remember, God wasn't pleased with him. He grieved God. Number 2, he weakened his own faith. Because once you doubt, it weakens your faith and has to be rebuilt again. Now, Lauren, when you're taking notes, you don't have to write the whole thing out. You just know the key words, okay? Number 3, he weakened the faith of Sarah. He weakened the faith of Sarah. Number 4. Now, Abram's not blamed, but you'll see this in that chapter. He became a poor testimony to his nephew Lot. Lot saw him not lie.
Is that number 4?
Number 4. Okay. Number 5, he caused the Pharaoh to be afflicted. Remember, sin in our lives not only affects us, it's probably going to affect somebody else in one form or another. Okay. Number 6, that's where he picked up Hagar, the Egyptian handmaid. Now, we'll get to Hagar in a little bit, but she comes in prominence later. Number 7, he proved a bad example for his son Isaac. So Isaac wasn't born yet, but this is what women do, because later on, Isaac would be told the story. Okay, this is where Hagar came from. Okay, and so those are 7. Yeah, I think all that was just saying, when we doubt God or when we sin, it always affects other people. So it's not just, some people say, well, it's my business, none of your business. Well, it might be. If it's going to affect me, it might be my business. Okay, and so always remember that in the Lord's sight, we're affecting other people also in that. So that was good to work
Did he
with.
cause Pharaoh to do?
He was afflicted, whatever God was going to get unto him, he didn't do right. Like Sarah. Okay, and then that was 12, 13. They come back to the promised land. What happens in 13? Lot separates, right? Okay. They come back and they were, both of them had a bunch of stuff, and herdsmen began to grumble one another and fighting over the water holes and all this kind of stuff. And Abraham said, "This is not right." Said, "Let's separate." And said, "You look and you go whichever way you want to go, and I'll go the other way."
He leaned towards
So you leaned. Did you lean?
Mm-hmm.
They kidded me all day yesterday about that. And so he leaned, and that's the first thing, and we'll see a little bit about Lot. But Lot chose the plain towards Sodom. Okay? And then note, as soon as he did and he left, God reaffirmed the covenant, the Abrahamic covenant with him. He said, and this was the land covenant this time, he said, look out there and look all you can see. He said, everywhere your eyes can see, I'm going to give that to your seed forever. And that land is described in the Bible, and that land is from the river of Egypt to the river Euphrates. Now, there's some distinction in Egypt. You used to think of the river of Egypt being the Nile, right? But there is a river that's a little bit further over, and I've done a lot of reading in days gone by about, we know the Nile River, the bed has shifted over these many years, okay, and it's so many hundred feet from where it used to be, the channel of it, and so the Upper Nile. So there's some changes in topography, changes in the surface sense, but it is defined from the river Egypt unto the river Euphrates, okay, and so that's the big fight today is land. Who's going to possess the land? We fight between, we'll get to a little bit Israelites and the Jews and the Arabs. Okay, so the Lot. 13.
He's captured in the war. There's a war.
Is that in the 13? Is that 14? I don't know. The
That's
first
14,
war,
that's
the
14.
first war recorded is in 14.
Yeah.
Okay. There are, if you look on that map I gave you, and I should have had you look at it in the back a few pages before, you would see that where Sodom, where the Dead Sea is now, and where Sodom is, there were 4 or 5 kings. There was a line of kings in 2 areas. And one was so strong, others were in bondage and paid tribute to, and they decided to rise up against that. So they had war between about five or six countries or more, okay? And so the one that was from Sodom, that Lot was with, they were defeated. And they were defeated because they ran into the slime pits, what about bog holes, quicksand, whatever you want, okay? And so one escapes, and a certain one that knew Lot, Abraham, about him, and he came to where Abraham was and said, he came to the Hebrew Abraham. That's the first time Hebrew was mentioned, okay, in Scripture. Comes to him and tells him the story and how Lot's captured. Okay, well, Abraham, just because Lot had done wrong and then he went over where we all know gone, Lot still cared for him. Abraham still cared for him. And God still cared for him. And so Abraham's always prepared. He gets his 300 and something soldiers he has, he's trained himself. And they take off, and up near Damascus, they catch him and surprise him and defeat them. Defeat them, take all, the army is one, take all, and comes, and on the way out, then there's 2 people that meet him. Now, Abraham's got all these captured all stuff. And one of them is the king of Sodom. And he said, tell you what, Abe, he said, let's do this. He said, let's split everything, all the booty. Let's split it, okay? Abraham said, no. Said, I don't want any of it unless the world says and you say that you made me great. Yeah, said, that's something with the Lord. And then about the time, there's a fellow comes up named Melchizedek. No beginning, and he comes up, but he has no genealogy. But he is the king priest of Salem. And he's evidently known. It's that. Remember, and I'm going to go all through this. I wasn't prepared to do it, but there's 3 offices in the Bible that we're familiar with. There's a prophet, priest, and king. Jesus will fit all those New Testament, but in the Old Testament you had divided, and he was a king priest in Salem, and Salem was the home of the Jebus, Jebus, and with a little change they became Jerusalem. Okay, Jerusalem later on, the holy city. And so Melchizedek becomes a type of Christ. No beginning, no end, king, priest. And so when this takes place in here, the Lord revealing to Abraham at this point in time paid tithes unto Melchizedek. And that's where you just ought to remember, you always do this, when we talk about the last week very quickly, they said, we just remember that the tithe predates the law. People say, oh, that's under law, we're under grace. Well, Abraham started all that way back a long time before law was inserted in Mount Sinai. Okay, so and we talked about, which I wish you'd remember, I really love to use law first fruits. It sounds so much better than tithe sometimes. It's a harsh word, you can't tell me what, but God gave to the early saints. He said, you give me the first fruits. I bless you, and you give back to me the first fruits. And they were brought to the temple, okay, the place of God. And so Jerusalem becomes important at that point in time from Melchizedek. Now the book of Hebrews says Jesus is after the order of Melchizedek, which means no beginning, no end, okay? And so that's, what number were we?
That was chapter 14.
14. And we come to 15. And 15, we had something we talked about, we had a certain kind of
Yeah.
covenant ratified.
Oh, yeah.
Two kinds of covenant, what are they?
It's conditional.
Alright. Unconditional, a conditional depends on what man's response, what man does, but unconditional is guaranteed by the one that made the covenant, right? And so against now you once again ratifies the covenant, and Abraham, he said, wait a minute, Lord, he said, I don't have anybody to have no seed you're talking about. He said, all I got is Eliezer, which is my servant, the main servant, I don't have a child. Like the Lord didn't know it, And so the Lord said, well, I'm gonna ratify the covenant again. And so what they did, they made the old-fashioned early covenant. They didn't sign things on paper, okay? And the way they did that, and by the way, this wasn't just something the Lord did. It was a practice of the day. The Lord told them what to give, but they would take animals and birds, and they would kill them, dress them, clean them, shedding the blood once again, okay? And they would lay them, each one lay theirs on the side like this in a row, and then with a torch of such, the two people that was in the covenant, they would walk between the offering like this together, and that would be their contract, just like signing a contract is today. But in this case, it was unconditional. God put Abram to sleep. And while Abram slept, now I don't know, maybe Abram knew what was going on, maybe a vision, he was asleep, the Bible says put him in deep sleep. And only God, with the burning lamp, only God walked through there, made it unconditional, because it didn't depend on what Abram did at all anymore, because God had said, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, that makes sense? Okay, and I always thought that was important on that kind of covenant and what the Bible said about that kind of covenant in there. All right, so we come now, I want to interject now A9, and the text here is that Genesis 15. There's something called here imputation. If I can get the Genesis, somebody read Genesis 15:6, please. You get it?
And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it unto him for righteousness.
He believed the Lord, and the Lord counted it for righteousness. Okay? And this is referred to then over in chapter 4 Romans. And I can't turn the 4 Roman read all, but you read it later. But there's points here in your notes that Paul uses it as an example. Okay? And there's 4 points here of imputation. Now, what is imputation? Is God putting to your account something that you did nothing for. That you didn't earn it. What you did, you believed God. Now, when I believed on the Lord Jesus Christ, and got saved, really got saved, God put it to my account. And it says paid in full, if you want to put it in our terminology, okay. And he imputed righteousness. I didn't earn it. I had no right to it. Just because I believed on him, in him and on him, he imputed righteousness, okay? Now, here's the 4 it talks about here. Abram's faith. Now, faith does not save you. I know, now don't cross wires here, okay? But faith, you have to have, but faith, as I said last week, is the conduit through which grace operates, okay? But it's always, salvation always by grace. In any dispensation, always by grace. It's by God's grace, because you can't earn it, okay? But we do have to have faith to believe, or else you can't do it, okay? So here, imputation, Abram's faith imputed for righteousness without works. Without works. Imputation is by grace and not debt, and you have the proof 15:6. Now let me say a word here, because people say the Bible, or people that don't know what we're talking about sometimes, say the Bible disputes itself. But, and the reason of that is the book of James says without works, faith is dead. And it says Paul and James are not on the same page. But they are. Salvation is by grace imputed righteousness without works. James is an explanation that if you have no works, something wrong with your faith. Because without faith, without works, faith is dead. You know, if it doesn't move you to do anything, or I'm not the word not do. I don't mean you have to say you do it. I mean, in your heart, if it doesn't move for a change. Remember this: that anybody gets saved always has a change. If there's not a change of some sort, somewhat right, because God changes and the Holy Spirit changes. Okay, and so that's the first one, without works. And then second, Abraham's faith imputed for righteousness without ordinances. Now, the reason that's put in there is because God gave a sign. Now, we missed this one somewhere now, but God gave a sign to Abraham and everybody that followed him in Israel of circumcision. That became a sign of the covenant. It was the outward sign of the covenant, okay? And so the writer here puts ordinances in there because it was not the circumcision that did the job. It was obedience, imputed righteousness. God did it without works, without righteousness. And number three, Abraham's faith imputed righteousness without law. The law would come, and we see that the what's the New Testament about the law? It is a what? It was given to be a what?
Instructor.
Yes,
teacher.
instructor. Yeah, a school teacher is what it says. To instruct, to show us that we can't live up to that law, and we need something more. Okay? Without law, and then fourthly, Abraham's faith imputed righteousness without human possibility. It has to be of the Lord. And then the 5 in Romans, covering the Romans chapter 4, is Abraham's faith recorded for our benefit. That's what Paul says. And it says, and this now is put down here for your benefit. So if it is, we need to know what it says and understand that all by faith. You see, there's not but two real religions, you might say, in the world. One is you get saved by grace, the other one gets saved by works. That's the only two there is. No matter what you call it, any name it wants to float under. And one's by grace, purely of grace, and the other's all by works. You got to do something. You got to do something. Okay? All right, so we're through 15 and did I put it out of order somewhere? I must have. I'm back on 16. All right, 16 is day 7. We're back to I was a couple pages. Didn't know what I'd use it there. So 16 is the birth of Ishmael. Now, without reading all of it, your notes are there, but Sarah is barren. They can't have children. He's got the promise, but he don't have any to show for it. And so Sarah gets the big idea, well, I know what to do. And in self-will, she makes a plan. And Abraham goes along with it. Yeah, both of them were wrong. Exactly, yeah. And that leads to another point. You see who's always first getting us in trouble. Not necessarily. But
That's true.
but
You know something I just.
remember that often? It was Eve and that Sarah. You know, must be a pattern in the Bible. Okay. And then the husband go along with it. Anyway, they went along with it, and yet Ishmael was born. And so when Ishmael was born, then Sarah, who was just in the first place, got upset because Ishmael was born. You know, she got jealous of Hagar. And so they banished him out. And the Lord comes and said, no, I'll take care of you, go back. And he promises Ishmael a huge seed also. And you know that's happened. Look how many Arabs are over there today. You know. And so Ishmael born in chapter 16. Okay. He's born, and we kill his face place in. So go to A8, and this is the where they get their names changed. Okay, he has the vision of El Shaddai. Now, I got a note right there that in the last, when Ishmael was born there, for the next 13 years, you get their silent. You know, there's no recorded, nothing recorded that God did anything with Abraham for 13 years.
So it's basically he didn't exist for 13 years.
Well, I mean, there's nothing there in the Bible, so you've got to take your own opinion what's going on, you know. And so most commentators say, well, you know, he did self-will. He didn't take the Lord promised him in the covenant and all, and he didn't self-will, and now the Lord just didn't talk to him. You know, you have to explain. You're trying to figure that out for yourself. Go ahead.
Does it look like that God blessed him with a son?
Yeah.
Now, we know it's a blessing of God when you have the child, but he wasn't supposed to be with Hagar. He was with Hagar, has a son, but then he names him Ishmael, and he says, look, God's blessing me.
Yeah. Right.
And so,
Also, you said the other day that you weren't sure that he should have ever gone to Egypt.
Right.
He should have trusted God and stayed where he was to provide for them.
Yeah, that's why I say, well, he picked Hagar up while he was down there.
That's why I was just fixing to say, if he'd stayed
One
out
sin
in
leads
Egypt,
to
he
another.
probably would have never, because she was from Egypt.
Yeah, yeah.
If he'd have stayed where he was supposed to,
Right.
it goes back to y'all making.
But it's hard. When, see, famine is used for testing in the Bible, and it's hard for when we get into a situation like that. Think of Abraham. Think of the islands after the storms. But you know, there's nothing and nothing to eat, this kind of thing, and so when you think of that, it's very hard not to go a couple of 100 miles, 300-400 miles, and have what you need. You know, and we all face that. And the hardest thing I think in our lives is figuring out, now I don't, it may not be for you, is knowing what God's will is. Now he had told Abraham, this is the land I'm giving you and I'll take care of you. But now famine comes. And he kind of tells us the same thing. You know, when we get saved, I'm going to take you, the Holy Spirit will take care of you. But when hard times come, the tendency of human nature is to try to solve it. And after all, that is our, at least us guys in here, that's what God expects. You know, I see Paul commended work and all of this, and he's saying about his foot of the brow because of sin, you're going to do this and all. And so, a lot of things, you know, hindsight, somebody said, hindsight's 20/20. But you here and looking forward and what's going on in your life, it's tough sometimes. And what I'm saying is, the hardest thing is knowing, okay, Lord, you want me to stay in this situation, you want me to try to get out. It's deciphering God's will. He had told Abraham, most of us, God had never appeared to us in a theophany. You know, not me. You know, I don't hear audible voices, this kind of thing. And that's New Testament. I mean, we're not supposed to, by the way. But here, he had appeared to Abraham here. So, you know, all those, but the 13 years, if you find out, write a book on it. Okay, the 13 silent years. So, but anyway, that was, and so he's now in 17, skips 13 years, look at some 16, 17, and now he's 99 years old. And we have the third theophany. Now, what did we say a theophany was? Theos is God, so it's an appearance of God in some form. Now, remember, it can be, now let him put his word like, if the angel of the Lord that you'll run into later, if it's a Christophany, theophany means God appearing in different ways. Okay, I mean, it's in a man form, but I mean, it could be what person of the Godhood or an angel or whatever. But the angel of the Lord is considered to be Christ, pre-incarnate Christ appearing. not can't say Christ at that time, the Word of God appearing, which would be the Son of God. And that's called a Christophany. If you run those words, that's simply what the writer thinks, that if he says Christophany, it means he thinks it's an Old Testament appearance of Jesus or the Word of God. And the other one we don't know because it's theos, just means God, okay? And so here we have the third theophany, and he has the divine name El Shaddai. And the El meaning from Elohim, or the strong one, Shaddai. Gives you some variation there of what it, but you notice it has there shad, what it means and all. It means to take care of. It's like, the deal here is like a mother taking care of the child, you know. The strong one, strong God taking care of the child. God will supply. El Shaddai. Got the fifth covenant, and tells him what to do there. And he changes his name from, that's B4 there, he changes his name from Abram to Abraham.
Well, is this a conditional or unconditional? He's telling him to walk before him, you know?
Well, he is, but it would be, it's instruction, Brother Bossa. It's instruction to walk before him and be perfect. You know what that means? Perfect. Always in the Bible, perfect is not perfect. Perfect means completed. Aristin, it means everything's completed. It doesn't mean that you're going to be, now, some of the, especially the black preachers from the South years ago, when they call themselves apostle so-and-so, and they're down on McDaniel Street, going into Atlanta Southside, there's a church that has a name, their name is the Perfect Church. Okay. And I heard this on the radio, and he said that, erroneous interpretation of the New Testament also, because the New Testament says that which is perfect cannot sin, talking about the new nature. But when you he tell you salvation, and they would call themselves apostles, and once you are saved, you don't sin no more. Now I think I'm saved, and I don't think I'm like that. Okay, so he got it better than me if he is, you know. But there were several that did that for years on radio and this kind of thing. So, so what I'm saying here, I think that walk before me and live like y'all live to your knowledge, and I'll multiply you exceedingly. Okay, so it's I think a little. I'd have to say on this part a little of both here, because there is condition. I will multiply you, but here you got the foreknowledge of God involved here. He knew what Abraham was going to do. So he changed his name, the new name, he changed his name to Abraham, from exalted father to father of many nations. Now, he does not have a son to give it to yet. He doesn't have of his own, he has Ishmael as his son, but he's not going to give it there. Okay, and so you've got everlasting covenant, everlasting possession, circumcision, the sign of the covenant. We already talked about that last week, the 8th day. The covenant respecting Sarah, at 90 years old. And so Abraham, this point, it's Abraham laughing at this point in here. And so promised a son that would be named Isaac, which means laughter. A little play on, I guess, on what they had last. I'm going to give you something to laugh about. And so Isaac, that's what Isaac means. Covenant respecting Ishmael, and the covenant respecting Isaac, who will be established with him. And he'll be born in 1 year. Okay, the Lord said, now this is when it's going to happen at the set time. A year from now is when it's going to happen. Chapter 18, if you would please. This is important here. So you're probably already very familiar with it. We're going to go to 8:15 tonight, okay? We're past the other deadline. Okay. All right. And so here's where you now, the beginning of the story about Lot and Sodom. Okay, but there's a little bit before that. They're on the plains of Mamre. If you want to look at your map, you see where it is. Sodom is the Dead Sea here, or the Dead Sea. Mamre is here. Sodom is here, so they're on the plain of Memory, okay? And near Hebron, I think it is, okay? And so in their tent, they're nomads, remember, they're not, Abraham was a nomad. He was what we'd call a Bedouin today, I guess. They didn't live in cities and towns, this kind of thing. They were herdsmen. And so you have here the fourth theophany. So God is coming, and what happens here? They're sitting in the Abraham is sitting in the door of the tent. Sarah's inside, and he sees these three men coming. Now the Lord reveals to him evidently, and besides that, two of them are angels. And one of them is a theophany. One of them is God or Christology one, okay? Or the angel of the Lord. Most people think in the Old Testament that's Christ or theophany. So he comes to him on the plain here, and Abraham, he's going to pass. Abraham convinces him to stay, which God knows about. They stay and eat with us. They fix him a great big meal and this kind of thing. And so when he talks here to him, when the angel of the Lord talks to him here, he tells Abraham that you're going to have a seed. You're going to have a child. Years from now, you got a child. And they're pretty old folks. And you read that carefully in there, and you'll see some wording in there that Sarah had to say. And Sarah's in the tent. And when she hears it, she laughs. And she laughs and, you know, I don't know who this is or am I, but there's no way. There's no way. It's one of the first things that we have with an actual individual where God does the impossible. You know, it does the impossible. And he still works miracles, by the way. And so he talks, and then he changes her name too. And her name will mean princess. Yeah.
Just a question, random question.
Yes.
Why did he change all these names in the Old Testament? Is
Well,
there like a specific
yeah,
reason?
the best I can give you on it is that just about everywhere in the Old Testament, now at least, and what would translate them, the name meant a certain thing. Like now, what does Nathan mean? You know, well, I'm just saying, we just name because we like the sound of the name, but they named people, kids and all, and the name meant something. Okay? And here when he changed everything, Abram meant high father. But Abraham means father of nations. So as he promised Isaac again, the name depicts what he's going to be. We reflect the seed here. Sarah, I can't remember what her name was, what it meant. Huh?
Sarai.
Yeah, Sarai is what it was, but I can't remember what it meant. But when it would change, it means princess.
Yeah.
Okay, so the best I can do is they did mean, and there were things like that there were an Old Testament numerous things. Who was the lady that, was it later, was it that died in childbirth and they gave the name because it meant sorrow.
Rachel died.
Okay, so and a lot of those are in there, and that's the best we can do on this. The Lord is going to reflect what they would do or what they would be. Okay, is that good enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So okay, and so as they're about to leave, something unusual happens. I'm going to use God because it's theophany. Okay. Two angels seem to move on. He tells them, we're going to Sodom. They're going to Sodom. Say, we're going to judge Sodom. Well, Lot's there. And here's another interesting thing. God told Abraham what he's going to do. Now, all the way down to 10. He comes 40, 30, 20, 10, all the way down. If you find 10, and the Lord said, yeah, well, 10 I would. And there's the Bible scholars I've got down there for in here, 10. And I've got on your notes there in 18, it says, look he knew there was this many people inside. Abraham did. There was Lot and his wife, that's 2. There was 2 unmarried daughters. There was 3 married daughters and 3 son-in-laws. That makes 10. Most Bible scholars think, well, surely his family are saved or righteous, Old Testament style. So Abraham was sure there's 10 there, so he didn't come any lower than 10. And so when he finds there, the Lord, he visits Lot, gets there, the two angels, and the angels now, and you have to read in, you have to take whatever you want. I'm not telling you what this means, I'm just telling you what scholars and anything mean. The angels, Lot is now sitting in the gate when they get there. I mean, this means it's a part of the government or authority sitting in the gate. And he speaks with him and invites him to spend the night. No, we're not going to spend the night. But he implores him to spend the night with him. He takes him home and feeds them a good unleavened. Now that's a clue there, unleavened bread. That means that Lot knew something about what God said to do, because that unleavened, that's a Jewish thing, you know. I mean, eat unleavened bread. And so when all of a sudden outside there's a commotion, and the young men of Sodom in that neighborhood, at least, the young men come and look down. It's 18 3b, 3a, 3b. The angels deal with the men of Sodom. The men demand to, and this is Bible language, the men demand to know the angels. And my handwritten thing out there is all the things in the Bible, including in Romans 1:27, where that is denoted homosexuality. Okay? The men mistook the angels for men, and they wanted to know them. Lot protects them, and Lot, now here's something strange. Lot offers to send out his two unmarried daughters who are virgins out to the men. They say, no, we want the men. So the angels strike the men trying to get in the door. They want to turn the door down. And he strikes them blind where they, so bad they can't even find the door and all, you know. And so they're dissipated that way. And so you read into that all you want. And I don't know how, in our day and time, one of the great battles. Now we got two young people here. The great battles in, three, I'm sorry. Or he's married, he's an old guy. But we've got here one of the battles of younger generation, at least I think more, is this battle of, okay, if a boy thinks he's maybe a girl, or a girl may think he's a boy, we both feel sorry for him. And I do feel sorry for them if they get that mixed up. And so we should let, and that's what all the restroom deal and all that, that's what it's all about, you know. And it all goes back to this thing now. The book of Romans, though, paints it as a society going down, and get to that part where that's accepted. Now you say, I can't explain it. You say, well, God loves people. He does. But when the Bible says something is wrong, it's wrong. I can't do anything about that. This is what the Bible says. I didn't say it, you know. And there was one of our famous independent Baptist preachers of years ago in there, and he got I got the tape somewhere, and way back then it was a tape on unisex. Way back then, you know. And that's what it's all about, on the blending and everything. And in our minds, especially our younger generation today, is they're confused about this thing. They're confused because we're supposed to love people. Okay? And it's a real battle, you know. I mean, I'm one that would rather, really, if I can, sit down and discuss it than just get up in the pulpit hammer, you know, because it's such an involved thing, in that you've got to really take your time and show and this kind of thing. Now I know what science, what the medical profession said. Okay, they say some people are born with that sort of thing. Yeah, well, I mean they're born that way. Okay, I don't know. You say, well, you might say, well, have you ever known about that? Yeah, and know of some others. I don't have much communion with them, okay, but in fact, I'm by where now I don't let these churches that hug each other. I don't want no guy hugging me.
So,
Yeah, but anyway, but that's a battle where I'm not trying to be lighter. I'm just saying this is what's in Sodom, whatever it is. And most Bible scholars think that's what it was. And that's where today it's called sodomy. Comes from the town Sodom. I mean, got a little name Sodom, okay. And so they didn't find 10 righteous. None of Lot's family wanted to leave when they were told it was going to destroy it. None of them. Wife didn't want to. Unmarried girls didn't want to. And the three married and sold off didn't. And Lot, it says Lot went and all night long he tried to reason with them. And they wouldn't believe him. That's where you come back to the testimony part. Lot had no testimony with his family. None. So it meant that he accepted what was there. He'd become a pillar in the community. He was in the gate of place of authority. And so he was a saved person. Well, I'm saved. He was a saved person out of the will of God and living in the world. Okay, it's just if it had been in Egypt. So you can take the stories there, and so he said, all right, by morning now you got to go. And so in the morning, the angels had to take them by the arm and pull them out of Sodom. They didn't want to leave. And you know the famous part of this story everybody knows is, now if you look back when he turned to a pillar of salt, okay? And so you have Lot and his wife and his 2 unmarried daughters. And they take off for the mountains, or the angels are making them go to the mountains. And Lot starts waiting, well, can I just stop in this little town, Zoar over here? I don't want to go up there in the mountains. And then you get scared enough he does go up in the mountains, okay? And on the way, the wife looks back. Now, what all's entailed here, I have no idea, okay? But the Bible says she looked back. We think more, I mean, we'd say, well, you got to know it was more than just looking back and see what's going on. She looked back wishing she didn't want to leave, okay? She liked that type of society, I guess, or what it was. She looked back, and when she did, the Bible says she was turned into a pillar of salt. Now, I've got some notes there, or anybody, you may be familiar with it. There's the most famous Jewish scholar of the historian of Israel, Josephus. Josephus recorded that he has seen that place. There is down there a range that's, I don't know how long it is, it's a pretty good range there, that is, the whole thing is salt. Now, excavations show, and people think that that either the Jordan, in the Dead Sea, either became the Dead Sea at that time or was made dead because of all the salt rain. It was literally raining down from heaven. It's not just there, but fire from heaven. Okay? So there's a lot of ideas of what could have happened. People always want to know what happened, could happen. I don't know how it happened, but anyway, the wife was either encased, turned into salt, or was encased in salt, whichever you want to take it, okay? And they go on, and that's where they found that's over there today. And then make things worse, there's nobody left around the area that they know except Lot and his 2 unmarried daughters. And so they get up to the cave in the mountain. It's interesting to note they took wine with them. Everybody took food, they took wine with them. They got up there, and the 2 daughters conspired. The oldest one conspired and said, listen, we're never, and I told you last week a little bit what it means to have no children in that day and time. Looked down upon it, they said, we don't have any way to have any children. And so they got, on the second night, they got their daddy Lot drunk. Okay? Had sex with him. And they became pregnant. And you have, from that union, you have 2 kids who were always a thorn in the side to the Israelites. Later that. One found in Moab. And Moab was always one of the nations right there that was always a problem there. And so you had Moab and, somebody help me, what is that?
Ben-Ami.
What?
Ben-Ami. Ben-Ami. It's verse 38.
Is that the name of the country there?
It's not Ben-Ami. Ammon, children of
Ammon, yeah. Moab and Ammon, you'll see, are the nations. And when later, all those many years later, when the children of Israel come out of Egypt, they're going to have problems with them. Okay, all those around there. And so you see just the downward trend. And so I have a little bit there written in. Lot in 1914 lost his testimony. Lot lost his wife, and Lot lost his morality and his daughters. So what started as a leaning in 13, what started leaning and to saying, man, that looks good. Man, that looks good. I've told this before in the church here, but I won't tell it again tonight. We got to be careful because there was a man, we started school. The first year there was a Bible college at Trinity in Jacksonville, Florida. And I was down there 16 months and got my first, 3 semesters, associate. And there was a man who was a successful businessman. I worked for him a while, I think, down there. And so he got a job of an advancement in another state. I mean, upgrade really in a job. The thing about it was there was no good church there. But they went. No good church there to go to. I think it was 5 years later, 3 years later, the family was destroyed. Family wasn't together anymore, and all that. So the advancement financially was good. But what happened, because there was no church there, was bad. So when you're making judgments and you're making decisions, you got to make sure they're godly decisions. If you're a Christian, God expects a Christian to come to him and make good decisions, okay? And he deals with the lost in another way. But anyway, and so all the way from just looking with the eyes, what looks good, now winds up down here with everything gone, family gone, everything gone. And so you got to be careful of that. I've got these down here on the Bible of 8:10. Character of Sodom. Lot chose with the eyes of the flesh, not of faith. He pitched his tent toward Sodom. Inferred that after he was captured, when he was captured, Abraham delivered him. He went right back to Sodom. And then Lot sat and he gave his place of authority. So you see where he went from the very beginning, choosing with the eyes, getting place of authority. Okay. I wanted to almost get through Isaac tonight. But I've got, 3 minutes? Okay, on A11, we'll finish him. Lord visits Lot. Angels rescue Lot. Lord destroys Sodom and Gomorrah. I think I just went through that. And then Abraham then, in chapter 20, after all that, he goes back to Gerar, and he has a second lapse of faith, and he journeys to Gerar. And the same thing happens with Pharaoh, which is called Abimelech, one more time. Second time around. God rebukes Abimelech, comes to him, and Abraham says Abraham's a prophet, and so he rebukes Abraham and recompenses Abraham, and Abraham prays for Abimelech, but he gets more, because of doing wrong, God gives him more stuff. And Abimelech did. So the note I've got down there is where all that came from, and the raining in and all. It's bitumen in the ground, which is a combination of naphtha and sulfur, and it's what we know as asphalt. And the ground is just full of it there. So whether God put it there for the purpose or whether it's just there, I have no idea. But that's just one of those little side notes on that. Okay. All right. Any observations? Any questions I can answer, Nathan?
I'll study up.
You'll study it, okay. No, I appreciate questions, but it makes me say, I might not know it, probably don't, but I got a bunch of, the commentaries you'll find, the more you dig into the Bible, something bothers you, and you go to the commentary, they skip that verse. Every time almost, you get mad. So we're going to start, what is this, Monday? We're going to start Monday with Isaac, and before you leave, I have a present for you. Present for you. First thing we'll do on Monday is have a little quiz off of this study sheet. Okay. Thought they might be back. Now listen, everything on your quiz on Abraham will come off